Welcome to the Draconic and Friends official podcast, where we peel back the curtain on puzzle games and the people who make them. I'm Syrenne, the producer at Draconic and Friends, and I'm joined as always by Alan Hazelden, the head Draconic at Draconic and Friends.
Hey there.
Today, we're joined by Alan deGrandis, who you may know from being shouted out on every single episode of the podcast, as well as their work on games like A Monster's Expedition, The Electrifying Incident, Spooky Express, Ash and Adams games, just so many games, so much wonderful artwork. How are you doing today, Adam?
Oh my goodness. I am so great now. I was great before too, but I'm very great now. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Of course. So beyond what I just said, can you sort of tell the listener a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am an art generalist and art director. I've been making games professionally since 2004. The very first game work I ever did was creating Doom levels for me and my friends to deathmatch on in middle school. And that should tell you something about my age. It was a new game when I was doing that. Art generalist, art director. When I got started, I went to a very traditional art college. I had a very traditional arts education. I was in a sort of nascent digital art program then, and everybody was doing like different stuff. There were people doing like video. There were people doing web. This was before Web 2.0, so like the web was interesting and weird, and people were still figuring out what could be done with it. And I wanted to make games. I was the one person in my small department that was making games, and there wasn't, like I said, Web 2.0 wasn't, you couldn't just like type in how do you make games, how do you model, how do you do whatever, and get, dozens and dozens and dozens of tutorials on it. I remember there were literally 2 tutorials about 3D modeling on the internet at that time, and one was step by step, the other was sort of like a high level overview. So I pretty much taught myself how to do all of the game's skills that I have now. So modeling and painting and rigging and animating and VFX and all that kind of stuff. I'm mostly self-taught with that kind of stuff. I know how to, draw, and I understand composition and form and the elements of design, all of the stuff you get from a very traditional arts education. That's what I got from college. But game skills, I'm self-taught, and it was very hard to do it that way. It was a lot of trial and error. But one of the things that I got from that, and I didn't realize I was getting it at the time, but one of the things I got from that was an appreciation for how one step of the process flows into another step, and how it sometimes flows back, and how the whole tapestry is woven together. And it gave me a very holistic view, both of games, game art really specifically, but sort of games like at a macro level too, right? That design and narrative and sound and art and everything have to be woven together in a very intentional way in order to produce the effect, and in order to give someone an emotional response or make someone have an emotional response to the work, right? So I was teaching myself how to do this stuff in the early aughts, and just right place, right time. I happened to catch like the dawn of indie and the dawn of like, or not the dawn of small teams, a return to small teams, right? Game teams had been ballooning even back then. And then suddenly there were tools available to small teams. There were opportunities being presented to small teams. There were also just small teams that said, hey, the current publisher model sucks, and we don't know if we're going to be able to figure it out, but we think we can. Online distribution, obviously, mobile was a huge thing, web games, all that kind of stuff. Again, just like sort of right place, right time. And then, I had been making games for over 10 years, and then met Alan at GDC in, Alan, what year was that? 2019? 2018? I think it was 2018.
2018 sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then, as far as Draconic goes, in my relationship with Draconic, the rest is sort of history.
Could have been 2019.
I can't remember if it was at... No.
Would it have... So...
Yes, it was 2019, because then I came to London in the fall of 2019. So it would have been, I think we talked about Monster's Expedition that spring at GDC.
So you joined like less than a year before I did?
Oh yeah, I guess
That's wild because it looked so visually polished when I joined.
Oh, well, thank you. It was a miserable experience. It was such a hard. I was really burned out from the work I'd been doing before. I burned out to the point that I didn't realize I was burned out. It was just sort of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is just what life feels like. All this how it's just always been this hard. And
Yeah.
like making stuff. And so it took a long time. It took a long time to like land on the look. And I love where we ended up, but it was a trial.
Why do you think that was, other than just games are a nightmare?
Yeah, so I say to my students, so for the listener, I'm also now a college professor. I teach at my alma mater. I teach all the courses that I wish I had when I was a student, which is kind of a fun turn. But I tell my students that I didn't realize this back then. I realize it now, that part of the creative process for me, like when I'm coming up with an art style for a game, I understand now that 60% of that time is going to spent just in a like deep visceral self-loathing. And it's just like that's just part of the process. And I can feel it and I can move through it, and it can just be, I can recognize it for what it is. This is me trying to do something that is challenging. And because coming up with doing that work, doing the visual development work, it's really, really engaging work, but it by its very nature, it's wrong for 100% of the time, right? If you're still working on it, it's because it's not good yet, or it's not what it's supposed to be yet. And you only stop doing that work once you cross the finish line, once it's good. And it takes a long time. So you're spending weeks, just tons of time, working on something that is, to be glib, bad. And because you're not there yet, because you haven't crossed the finish line, there's going to be, I mean, if you're me anyway, there's going to be a voice in the back of your head that's just the whole time saying, this is it, man. This is when you find out your whole career has just been 20 plus years of incredible luck. This is when you find out that you're not actually good and you don't actually know what you're doing. And now I know I just have to say, like, that's not true, right? Objectively, that's not true, because I have titles and a whole list of titles, dozens and dozens of titles that I've helped launch. And that look, in my very humble opinion, look very good. But yeah, it's just being a creative professional. It's like two things. It's more than two things, but for now it's two things, right? It's you have to learn the skills to actually do the work, but then there's like a whole mental component. There's like a bunch of like soft skills and stuff like that, and those are things that are a lot harder to learn, because like if I was to teach someone how to model, okay, those steps are really clear cut, right? I can teach a class, and then I can teach someone how to draw. I can teach someone how to play guitar. I can teach. There's a bunch of just like skill-based things you can do this. But once you start dealing with like, I don't know, some of the more like squishy or soft skills stuff, like even like how to be a manager, how to be an art director. The first project I ever art directed, which was in 2007, whoo boy, I did not do a great job as an art director. But that's because like some things, man, you just gotta learn on the go. You're dealing with other people, and it's just harder. So managing those more emotional aspects of the process, of the creative process, it's just, you have to do it enough times to understand, like, this is how this process is going to feel. And not every part of the process feels good, but that's okay. It doesn't feel good to be in a tiny boat getting whipped by huge waves, but sometimes that's just what life is, and you'll make it through, right?
And do you think there's anything that you can do as a team to make that process of finding and honing an art style less painful? Like I know for sure that during the periods that you were working on the like laying out the art style for Monster Expedition, like so much else was in flux that that wouldn't have been helping. But like both for Monster Expedition or like more generally, like what can you do to ease that process? It's going to be painful every time, but like it doesn't always have to be maximally painful.
Yeah. I've learned that for my own process, having a lot of voices early on in the process is a great way of just getting a bunch of ideas on the table, and pretty quickly you can sort through so you can sort through the good ideas and the ideas that are like still good but maybe not for this project. But having more thoughts about that stuff than you yourself would be able to generate, it makes it a lot easier to what's the way to put it? So for me, that self-loathing that I talked about, a big part of it is just, that thing of like, oh, I'm not there yet. This is not yet good. And it's because like coming up with the ideas takes time, and you've got to like come up with an idea and then test it. And then like, nope, this is wrong. Come up with a new idea, test it. Nope, this is wrong. And eventually you get to like, oh, well, this is still wrong, but it's more right than it was last time. And you can sort of hone in on the correct path going that way. If you get just a bunch of ideas right at the start, you're going to be getting there's just a lot of like there's a lot of stuff to churn through. There's a lot of stuff to behold and to consider, and that's good because you didn't have to take the time to think through all of that or to generate all of that yourself. But then also you're going to get ideas that you never would have thought of, and that can be helpful because it will then send you down paths that you never would have been able to walk down, right? And you'll end up in places that are really, really surprising. Well, something that I say to my students is just to like, because coming up with an art style, there's also just like so much to consider. You have to be thinking about like, okay, well, is this going to speak to the audience? Is this going to help us tell the story? Is this going to like mechanically, does this signal everything that we need? Like, there's just so many things that you have to check for. Let's just say like, okay, we have to design a prop of like a specific prop in game. Let's say we need to design a lantern. The character is going to carry a lantern for part of the game, and we need to design the way this looks and blah, blah, blah. When we start designing that lantern, I always start with just like a whole mess of thumbnail sketches, really quick drawings. If I'm doing thumbnails, I very intentionally don't spend more than 5 minutes on any given drawing. Usually if I can keep it down closer to like 2 minutes, that's good. You're really just trying to find like just like the very high level vibe. What's like the form? What's the silhouette? You're not really thinking about details. And when I teach my students this, because when you start learning how to do this stuff, there is going to be usually a drive to make every drawing good because you're trying to look impressive. You're trying to make like nice art. And the thing about thumbnails is they don't look nice, right? They're napkin sketches. You don't show them their internal work, right? You're not showing them to the public. You're really just, the point of concept art is I have an idea in my head and I need to get it in your head in as few lines as possible, right? Because the time that we're spending, if you're doing it professionally anyway, the time that you're spending drawing, like if you can communicate an idea with 8 lines, don't spend 12 lines on it. You just, burn the money on those 4 extra lines. So, oh my goodness. So this is a perfect Adam teaching example. I was answering a question and I just forgot the question that I was answering because I started to think about concept drawing and how much I like it. What was the question you asked me? Was it how to make it less painful?
Yeah, make it all concept art.
Yeah. As long as you make everything napkin drawings, you can have just a really enjoyable time doing everything. And you don't have to worry about doing any of the bad stuff. Don't ship the game. That's the way to make it less painful. Just don't ship a game.
Hey.
I think we all know that.
Oh no, I'm out of a job.
I feel like I had a really good answer for it, though. The actual thing that I was building to, well, guess it doesn't matter. It's in the ether. This is a great podcast right off the bat. What are we at? 10 minutes?
No, this is great.
Look, this is... sometimes you get good energy out of this. So, with that in mind, do you have any specific stories from a Monsters Expedition, other than, the general working on it while feeling burned out, that maybe like I either like standout memories that you haven't blocked due to trauma response, or like any examples that like kind of can illuminate what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I had a great time on that project. Besides the like being burned out and trying to come up with a thing. I think the other thing too. So actually, I can sort of pick it back up. When I was trying to figure out the art style for that game, I wanted it to be good, right? A huge part of the pressure on that project for me at that time was just like I was talking about with my students, right? That like, if you tell them draw, we're going to learn how to do concept art, do the thumbnails, don't spend more than 5 minutes on any given drawing. Here I was trying to come up with a cool art style, and I wanted it to be good. And there was always this enormous pressure. And I think there was like, I put that pressure on myself because, I had just come off of working with a team who I love. I love everybody at that particular team, but it was like not a good fit work-wise in terms of what they were asking for and what I think I tend to be good at. That, and also I had a very small, not technically newborn anymore, but like a toddler at home, and that's like, you're learning how to become a parent, and that's a whole crazy shift. Any parents listening understand, like, having your first kid, sort of a soft reset for you as a human. And I really just wanted to be like, no, I want this to be good, right? I want to prove to myself that I can still do this. Because it was starting to feel like, I don't know, man, maybe I just can't do this anymore. So there's a lot of that pressure on me, but then that I was putting on myself. But then I remember I figured out sort of like cracked the art style. I had told Alan, I need to just take a week off. Like I'm, just bashing my head against the wall trying to make this thing work, and it's just not working. And I think I need to just like take a breath and step away and give myself some time to, I don't know, clear my head. But then on that week, I kept working, which is a very Adam move. But like just the fact, like, no, this is a week off. This doesn't count. Like it sort of reduced the pressure, I think, and I was able to like make some, I think, important connections, visual connections that were floating around, but I just wasn't finding because I had the stress on me. So I remember that week very, very vividly because it was the first time in really probably months that I had felt like I was competent, and I was doing the thing that I was trying to do with a level of skill that, it's like, do either of you play instruments?
Yeah, I play dozens of instruments.
Dozens? Really?
Yes.
I play none.
Okay, well, Syrenne plays dozens, so I think you can play none.
Every instrument in a band and orchestra.
I can't believe we've never talked about this. This is a sidebar, and I want to come back to it. But the thing of like, the reason I asked was because like, if you're trying to play a difficult piece of music, you can like keep practicing, and it's like sometimes like my stupid fingers will just not do the thing that I'm trying to make them do, and I will try to play a piece of music like 100 times. And if I just like say, okay, screw this, man, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to just step away. This doesn't matter to me anymore. As soon as I like take that breath and then I start to play it, I'm like, oh man, okay, cool. Okay, this actually feels good now. And like doing that thing that you tried to do so many times to be able to actually finally do it. Oh boy, that feels so good. So that was really good. I will probably remember that week. Well, probably not till the day I die, because who knows, but I mean, maybe I'll die tomorrow, and then the last day of my life, I got to tell this story.
Let's not be that dark.
Okay. It would be so funny, though, if I actually did now.
No,
like, oh, he knew. Anyway, doesn't matter. So that was a good time in that project. But then also, on that project, we had a few other artists help out to make all the exhibits, because obviously a ton of exhibits in the game that has exhibits in the title.
Over Almost 200.
Almost 200. And and then all of the snowmen and stuff like that too. So there was like just a bunch of like assets that needed to get made, and I actually had 2 former students help out with that because it was all like modeling, and it's all there's like levels of production work that are, after you've been doing this for a bit, you can say like, oh, this is really good for a junior artist, or we're going to need a lead for this, or we're going to need,
Yep.
whatever. And the exhibits were like perfect, like junior to like mid-level modeling assignments. And so I got to have one former student who had graduated a while ago, and I had actually worked with them on a handful of things in the meantime, and then one who is pretty newly graduated. And just to be able to like, one of my things with being a professor, one of the things that I've always tried to do is be an on-ramp into the industry, or whatever, just like into having a practice as an adult. So, and these 2 people were very special to me. So I was very, very happy that I got to actually do that thing that I try to do,
Yeah, and we're working with another of your former students on
that is true.
the Electrifying Incident and the Spooky Express. So
yes.
You're keeping doing it.
And and thanks to you, actually, I don't know if I've ever actually said this, Alan, but I'll do it on tape. So it's actually, we can always refer back to it. You are always so good about, whenever there's a task that needs done on a Dracnet game, if it's a task that I think a junior artist can handle, you have never once pushed back and said like, oh no, I don't think, let's get someone. I would feel more comfortable if someone more senior was working on this. You have always just trusted me and said like, yeah, if you think they can do it, awesome, let's bring them on, which not every director would do that. So I do appreciate that.
That's a sign of how little I know about art.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just screwed myself for the future, I guess. Now you're gonna question it every single time, like, is this one of those things,
you have
Adam?
yet to lead me astray.
Okay, that is true. I feel like I've got a good track record with you. And Phoenix was a guest, correct?
Yeah, Phoenix has been on the podcast before, talking about knowing you.
Yes, good. Hopefully all good stories.
So, small bit of transparency is that Alan and I tend to have like a running doc on the side with like follow-up questions. And there's one here that just says fog. And
fog.
Yeah, for a Monsters Expedition. And boy, howdy, do I remember the fog in especially in the last 2 weeks. Yep. Maybe you blocked that out, Adam.
I think that game was so every project that I work on, and this is actually good usable advice for everybody else. Every project I work on, I try to do at least one new thing to like keep it feeling fresh. And on Monsters Expedition, that was the first time I authored any sort of shader. And I remember the way that I did it on Monsters Expedition had to then be cleaned up after I was kind of like off the project. And the fog was part of that, but also there was a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I was like quasi off the project at this point, but there was just a lot of like cleanup to get it to like
be performant
on mobile and Switch.
Yeah, well, Switch is funny enough. I don't think we've ever explicitly talked about the release platform plan and strategy for that game and how there kind of wasn't one for half the time. That game launched on Switch like 9 months later. But so the Switch version absolutely benefited from the optimizations, but what actually ended up happening was because it was on Apple Arcade, it needed to support the iPad Mini 4. Which is thankfully is no longer needed to be supported by anything. Absolute disaster of a device.
Yeah.
It is an iPhone 6 chip, but it's rendering like 1440p.
Yeah, Syrenne, this is so funny. Like this exact same thing, not the same devices, but this exact same thing caught me and my partner Sarah. So I make art. I do all of my art contracting through a studio that we started called Chickadee. And when we started Chickadee, it was to make our own small games. We wanted to make small comedy games. And the first title that we did was a mobile title. And we ran into a very similar thing where we did not have, this was 2014 now, so I'm trying to remember. But basically the iPad version was using it was like blowing through texture memory in a really, really weird way. But it's like that type of thing that you're like, oh, okay.
Because at the time, they didn't have more advanced chips than the iPhone.
Yes.
But they were attempting to do much higher scale rendering.
Yes.
And so this ran into an issue where, for those who haven't played a Monsters Expedition, the world map is covered in fog, and that's kind of like at the beginning of the game, it kind of obfuscates where you're going, and towards the middle of the game and towards the end of the game especially, it really is just like here's where you haven't been. And the fog is, like Adam said, it's shader, it's kind of obfuscating in real time, and that means that when you zoom out to the world map, it becomes very dynamic. Now, the problem is when it is trying to, on a very weak device, at a very high resolution, try to render the entire world map and also the programmatic fog shader.
Yeah.
And so, that's all trying to be dynamic. And so in, we ended up faking it for the low-end mobile devices. We literally wrote a hard cutoff where we found basically the least powerful device that could run it acceptably without faking it, and hard-coded in every device below that as you're not going to run the shader, you're going to run not quite a texture, but close to a texture.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Well, I can't remember what we did for the fog. So the map itself literally is a texture.
Yes.
I remember that because I had to do cleanup on scene stuff.
I think it's the everything is a texture except the parts that can move, like the trees and the logs, they're actually rendered, but they're being rendered on top of ground that is just a flat texture.
Yes, and definitely a couple players at launch were like, "Wait, what?"
It does not look good.
No,
but
it's not ideal. But here's the problem. And I will say this as NDA friendly as I can. When you have a very clear directive that you're not allowed to compromise on resolution or frame rate, that it needs to be hitting device native resolution, and you are not allowed to dip below a certain frame rate threshold ever at any point during your game outside of the initial loading screen, then we needed to make a really clever compromise.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, the other reason we needed to do this awful hack was memory.
Oh, I mean, it was also the devices were running so damn hot on top of that.
Too. But also, some devices just couldn't handle the whole game being loaded into memory at once, so they would crash.
Yes, there was a lot of making sure that things were stable. Trust me, everyone who was relevant on the team got quote unquote gifted a very weak iPhone or iPad or something, so that people could keep playing it and testing it and bashing our heads against this, as well as the Apple TV 4K, which now has a decent chip in it. At the time, it basically had the same chip as the iPad Mini, but was attempting to render at 4K.
Oh, wow.
Which also nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually used my Apple TV that we got for Monster Expedition.
Yeah, I will say that
although I don't play games on it, I don't know why anyone would play games on it.
I never play games on it, but I do use it for what it's worth. It has a very it's very effective at streaming from certain services. like Disney Plus or Apple TV. Anyways, that I'm not trying to promote any of that. If you want to buy an Apple TV, let it be your prerogative. But I do not recommend playing games on it if you want a stable experience.
Like just trying to make it run on low end devices and trying to meet the letter of a contract and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like that stuff in the moment, it's so stressful, but it does. I don't know. I think there's something fun about amassing those stories, right? Like I remember on one of the first games that I worked on that launched was a XBLA launch title.
Oh my God, yeah.
On the 360. And
wait, I think your NDA probably does expire this year. It's 20 years.
Oh, that's really funny. I mean, I can talk about it. It was a game called Marble Blast Ultra. So it was sort of a like Marble Madness, but 3D, and I don't know. Monkey Ball is effectively the same thing, but has cute characters in it. So it's probably the better known title. But
yeah,
like back then, like for XBLA, like all games had to be under 50 megabytes.
Sure did.
And so like there was just a bunch of work. They had to be under 50 megabytes, but then also like shaders were, there was not an expectation, but there was, if you could get like real-time reflections and all this other kind of stuff, it's like, oh man, that's like the new hotness. People are going to see that and be like, whoa, this was really, really cool. I can't believe I'm doing this on my TV. So there was just like a bunch of, like we were using PNGs, I remember, for all the textures in that game. And then PNGs with alpha channels. And then we were coming in over the 50 megabyte limit. And we had to move to this really weird format called JNG, which was JPEGs with alpha channels. So all of the textures were lossy. They were like, crinkly, but we could have alpha channels on them. And they were tiny. I mean, that was the whole point, right? They were like super, super tiny because they were lossy files. But it's just like one of those things like, oh man, that was so... What a weird moment in time, right? Like,
did you ever work on a WiiWare title, by the way?
No, I worked at a studio in 2007. This is actually that first time I art directed. This was at this particular studio that was doing downloadable console games, and I helped them launch one for the 360, and then I worked on two more that were 360 that then went to Wii. But that was after I was only at that studio for 6 months. It was sort of a bait and switch. Although it was in Wisconsin, Syrenne. I was in Green Bay.
I know exactly what.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that one on
but
recording, but you probably know.
I know exactly who that studio is. Yes. So the fascinating thing about that, hilariously, is Nintendo poached the person who launched XBLA to go help co-launch WiiWare.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they were like, 50 megs? That worked so great, but we're not HD. Let's do 40 megs.
No way, for real?
And then it was hard-coded into the operating system, so they could never make an exception on a game.
That is wild.
There are like games that Nintendo brought around, like Super Meat Boy was a game that Nintendo brought around to press for like months and months and months as like, look at what WiiWare can do. And it never ended up being able to ship on WiiWare because of the file size limit.
Oh my goodness. That's so what an interesting decision to hard code a limit.
It's like because including operating system memory, the Wii only had 512 megs of storage.
Sure. Yeah.
And they were like so concerned about any one title taking up your entire thing, which eventually, if you downloaded Rock Band DLC, did exactly that.
Yeah, sure.
Because there wasn't a limit on DLC like totals.
Yeah.
And so you ended up in this situation where when they were designing it, they literally looked at the size of the largest Nintendo 64 game that would launch on the virtual console. So the N64 emulator for the Wii plus that, and that was 40 megs. And they were like, great, that's going to be the hard cap file size limit. Nothing will ever need to be over 40 megabytes.
Wow. Based on a 64 title.
Yes,
Wow.
I will say there are a lot more. That is like the least messed up thing about WiiWare. Other real quick lightning round fun stories include, in order to develop, you needed an office, and there was someone at
Yes.
Nintendo's full-time job was scouring Google Maps to make sure that people actually had offices.
Yeah, I remember. I feel like Nintendo wasn't alone in that. I feel like
No,
that might have been also Microsoft.
but then also their way to try and prevent shovelware, which as
Yeah.
someone who's intimately familiar with every WiiWare game, did not work.
Yeah.
They refused to do payouts until you sold 10,000 units.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
They would withhold, and then they would pay out as soon as you sold 10,000 units. But the first 10,000 units, if you launched your game, and think about the Wii audience, how many of them are connecting to the internet, going to the Wii Shop channel, putting in their credit card and downloading a game?
That's crazy.
You need 10,000 or else you will never see a dime on your game ever.
Is that like public knowledge? I feel like
Yes.
I've never heard this.
Yes, the person, I can say this because the person who created both WiiWare and XBLA is now like a consultant and has very publicly apologized for this policy.
Wow.
It was like, we had good intentions at the time, I swear it was meant to be a low number. Because like, my understanding, and this is, my source is not saying it out loud,
Sure.
but my understanding is that more than 50% of games on WiiWare failed to hit payouts.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's such a huge number.
Yeah, so, like I said, the 40 meg limit was the least messed up thing about WiiWare as a service.
Yeah.
I worked on one title at the very end of WiiWare, and like I had been like paying attention to WiiWare the entire time, but like even just seeing like 40 megs sounds tiny, and then you have to remember this is on console, so you're bundling in all the necessary like console wrapper and stuff, and like the bumpers and like the manual and things like that. That counts against your 40.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
Talking about file sizes reminded me about another thing that was fun about developing for the Apple TV, which we couldn't save to disk on the device.
No, because there's no local storage for saving.
The only thing you can do is save to the cloud.
Huh.
So sorry if you lose internet connection midway through your session. What a not good device for games. Anyways, I don't want to burn bridges with Apple, but I will happily burn bridges with the Apple TV team. I don't want to work on an Apple TV game ever again. I can say that for sure. There's a couple platforms like Ouya and like that. There's like a few platforms I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Who's out here trying to defend these platforms for games in 2025?
Yeah.
So, what'd you go do after A Monster's Expedition? Did you go rest?
No.
Damn.
What did I do after that one?
I mean, we shipped 6 months into a global pandemic, so kind of all bets are off.
And then we brought you back for the expansion also.
Did you? What was the expansion?
We added a bunch of exhibits.
I have no memory of this. So here's the thing, like, pandemic plus raising a small child. I have to so one of the things I'm doing this summer is updating my portfolio for the first time in 5 years. The last time I updated it was probably Alan to interview for Monsters Expedition. And there's like a 3-year period where it's all just mush. And I've got to like sort of sort through what exhibits did we add for the...
So we shipped with about 120.
Yeah.
And then we did a content update for the Switch release.
It timed to the Switch release.
Timed to the Switch
everything.
Release. It was released everywhere. And that was May 2021.
And that brought it up to 160.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering actually if would it have been that we did all of the exhibits that we knew we were going? No, we added.
There were some that were like on the cutting room floor that like were not cut because of like we think this is not good enough.
Yeah, sure.
So there were a few. I remember that there were like maybe 5 to 10 that were modeled and not final texture that you finished up, but then you did the rest.
Oh my goodness!
Well,
I wish I had the list.
I can't remember. Possibly some of them were the same people who were helping with the exhibits, your former students.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you touched them.
Yeah, no, I textured at very least I textured everything because they only did the initial model. Usually, actually, on that game, the process was they would model things, and if they needed a ton of edits, which I think really only happened, I could probably count it on one hand the number of times that happened. They always turned in really good work. But if they needed major edits, I would say make this major edit. But if it was just like, oh, we've got to clean up this region here, and I'm going to reduce the poly count over here, that was stuff that because that's like 30 seconds of work. I would do it myself.
Do you want a quick example of one? Yeah,
give me an example.
Fountain soda, open parentheses, fuel edition. Much like humans, each mode of human transportation had its own soda preference. The options at this particular dispenser are from left to right: leaded, unleaded, diesel, and blue raspberry.
Sure. That's so funny. I mean, yes, I remember that. I do not remember that it was for an expansion.
Yeah, that came out post-launch. That was 6 months later.
So funny.
Or actually, like 8 months later.
Yeah. I remember, I'm curious, what is, and you don't have to give a single one. You can maybe shortlist. What are your favorite exhibits from that game?
Oh, so this was a tough one because when I'm going to plug this for the first time ever on this podcast, merch.draknek.org. Turns out you can actually buy merch of Draknek and Friends stuff. Weird. I mean, we made shirts of some of our favorite exhibits. I think it's so basic.
Uh-huh.
But the pile of unread books is so funny.
Yeah, sure, I love that one.
And Adam, that the plaque, that's future looking, it says 2025 on it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's like you look at the old Looney Tunes cartoons that talk about Duck Dodgers in the 21st and a half century or something. And it's like, oh, those years are in the past now. Cool. All right.
I think that for me, there's also a look. I trauma bonded with Mike over the watermelon one.
Oh yeah, wait, I remember the asset. I can't remember what was the joke.
So the joke is that the word watermelon got its name from someone who looked at it and yelled, "Wow, what a melon." Now, I want you to think about how that translates into every language.
No, I know that it's so funny.
So, this game came out in Arabic. Arabic is a right-to-left language. The only way the localizers could handle the language was by inserting watermelon and what a melon into English, which means that it goes right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
Oh my gosh.
And that is hard-coded in, and neither of us read Arabic, and so the two of us just kept staring at the source cell from the translators and the game and going back and forth and be like, this looks right. This is it. We finally did it. And it took 3 days of work to get that one to show up correctly in Arabic. So the two of us, that is the one I remember the most.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So much work for just one. I like that joke. Is it worth 3 days? I don't know, but you're not going to write a new joke, right? So it's here you go.
Yes, I really, truly hope that anyone who played that game in Arabic got to laugh from that joke. If they did not laugh from that joke, then it was all for nothing.
I can't remember. Did Reverse Mermaid actually make the cut, or did
it is.
Reverse Mermaids. I think that was one of the ones maybe that was added in the update.
No, it was not. That was in at launch because we have a Steam emoji of the Reverse Mermaid.
Okay.
Okay, great.
The only Draknek game that has Steam emoji.
I can say that my students, because I've showed, I very purposely try to not show work from the games that I've worked on because it feels like holding them hostage for, I don't know, just look at we're gonna look at my work now and there's nothing you can do about it, right? You're paying to be here and I'm gonna show you I hate doing it. It feels weird. But we have looked at exhibits from Monsters Expedition, and I can say that Cool Skull is a big fan favorite among students usually. Do you
Cool
remember that
Skull
one?
is great. I really like this bird because it's early
Yes.
enough in the game
Sure.
that it like everything is an exhibit, and then the one exception to the two exceptions in the entire game to this isn't an exhibit are we won an award and look at this cool bird. You better not chop down this tree.
Yeah, that's funny. I was actually just playing the game again last week, and
wow.
I came across that this bird, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, that's a good one. I like that.
What led you to replay the game?
Well, so I redoing my website, and I had to record footage for a new animation reel, and so it started as okay, I'm going to go in and capture the footage I need, and then I just started playing the game.
I was going to say, I guarantee that somewhere on one of our servers, we still have all the B-roll for when we were submitting to awards.
Ooh, yep, should have asked. I didn't. I've got 2. Do I have 2? I do have 2. I've got 3 bits of inside information about exhibits. I'm actually looking on my second screen.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Tell us the secrets.
Okay, so there's a teddy bear as an exhibit that is my daughter's favorite teddy bear. That's her favorite stuffy. That's a real life stuffy. And when I started in games way back in the early aughts, I would always put in a little Easter egg piece of art for my girlfriend at the time, now wife. And now I do it since my daughter was born, I do it for my daughter. So her stuffed animal is in the game. That's the first one. Second one, I can't remember what the joke is, what the exhibit is, but there is, it's the car boot sale. I can't remember what the joke is, but there's a bunch of paintings and knickknacks on a table. And those paintings are actually photographs of paintings that my grandfather did. My grandfather was a mechanical engineer his whole life, and then he retired and took up oil painting. And so, they're tiny on screen. You can just tell that they're paintings. You can't really make out what they are, but they're my grandfather's paintings. That's 2. And then what was the third one? I'm looking at the thing. And the third one is...
that Kraken is actually your best friend.
Yeah, he's divorced. So he's fine. Right, the crushed cars. I can't remember what the joke is for that one too. What's the crushed cars one?
It's I think they confuse it for IKEA flat pack or something.
Yes, I think that's it.
That was a car model I made years and years and years ago for as a third party asset to sell. Then I was like, oh man, I need a car. Baby, I got one. Let me plug in my archive drive. Yeah.
Love that. And you didn't even charge us a premium.
No, absolutely not. My favorite exhibit, my favorite piece of art got cut. I can say that.
Was it the frog?
No. Wait, the frog frog got cut?
I think there's a frog in there somewhere.
We had, because there was a frog exhibit. Okay, there were 2. One of them was living, and and people felt weird about holding it in captivity.
Sure.
So we cut it because it felt, because all of the living characters in the exhibit are very, very specifically called out. They just live here. The entire museum was built around that reverse mermaid.
Right.
Whereas the owl just moved there.
Yeah.
But and the leeches, who knows?
Sure.
But I remember Pip the writer had was having second thoughts about that feeling too captivity So
yeah, sure.
And is this why we pivoted with the friends?
We pivoted with the friends because we needed assets hurriedly, and we were at the end of development, and we were running out of texture memory.
Yeah, I think also there was a because originally each biome had its own friend, and
the freaking gnomes.
Oh, right, the gnomes.
That haunts my dreams. Listeners, they were gnomes at one point.
Yeah, there were, I think it was a combination of we need these like now, and also the snowmen are a fun nod to good snowmen. So
Yes.
it was sort of like, yeah, two birds with one stone, let's just make them snowmen. Yeah, what were the other? There were the gnomes, there was
There was frogs in the swamp.
Yeah.
frogs in the swamp,
was,
right?
Strawmen in the autumn
like
biome.
scarecrows. Yeah.
That was this. I was sad to see the scarecrows go because the animation when the scarecrows got hugged, I really, really liked.
I really liked that too. We should see if we can't rescue that 3D model for Spooky.
It's not really a fit. We do have scarecrows actually in.
We've
Spooky,
already got
but-
scarecrow
No, I know
models.
we already have. I'm just like, I remember that too. I remember that.
I mean,
fondly.
did we keep the scarecrow as like an exhibit?
We maybe we might have.
I don't know. I have strong memories of it, but I think that might just be because I really liked it.
There was for the desert. There was a like a dinosaur fossil that when you hugged it, like a skeletal thumbs up would come up from the rock. It was kind of funny.
Fossil friend was so weird.
Yeah, I know. It was the weirdest one, I think.
Yeah, but the concept, such strong concepts. See, this is the thing. It's like, yeah, unfortunately, this was. I remember being the unfun producer at this time because this was also fun, but I remember just being like, we need to cut this down.
Sure.
Because like the time estimate of getting everything to be in a really great state for that was after QA.
Yeah, sure. My favorite exhibit that got cut was cut because it was one of the things that came back from this is going to play well in China, and so we should cut it. But it was Ghost Dinosaur.
I remember Ghost Dinosaur. Yes, that.
Just in terms of I don't actually remember the joke. I just remember like when I finished that piece of art, I was like,
yeah.
Adam deGrandis, you've done it again. Like, ha ha ha.
Sometimes when you're releasing a game globally, you do really got to think about what are the cultural taboos of different regions.
Sure.
I mean, if you want the footage of the Ghost Dinosaur for your animation reel, we can probably find an old version of the game.
I actually have Ghost Dinosaur in, not in my reel, but in my, it's part of a picture, part of a big collage of all the different exhibits that I worked on.
I'm glad Ghost Dinosaur rules. So we spent a long time talking about Monsters Expedition, which was tremendous, but we haven't talked about Electrifying or Spooky, and we're at the 58-minute mark.
We also haven't talked about the games you've been working on, like
with Ash.
We can lightning round it for sure.
Sure. I mean, yeah, let's do it. So after Monsters, you worked on Desktop Dungeon.
I worked on one before that. So I worked on a cooperative deck builder called Battle Bands, and that was pretty cool. That was made by a local to me, where you play with 3 other friends, and it's a deck builder, but you're collaboratively like building songs, like song sections, and each player. There's a bassist, there's a guitarist, there's a drummer, and a keyboardist, and they all have different decks. And so you're sort of trying to like synergize strategies and stuff like that. And you're doing it against another team of 4 players, or against, there was like a campaign that had NPCs, and there's a bunch of that was a bunch of really cool art. It was sort of inspired by like concert posters, like show posters. And I don't know, it had sort of, the whole game sort of had like a little bit of like an Adult Swim vibe. So that was a lot of fun. It didn't, people who played it really, really liked it. But I mean, even back then, to find an audience for a cooperative, competitive game was hard, and it didn't quite find its audience, which is too bad. And then after that was Desktop Dungeons Rewind, which was, if you don't know Desktop Dungeons, sort of cult favorite strategy puzzle game from 2012, 2013, I think. And this was that was a 2D game. This was a big 3D remaster, and a bunch of like new stuff was added. And it was sort of when we redid it, that's another thing that was sort of an interesting game to work on. It was the most aggressive schedule of any project that I've ever worked on.
Wait, more aggressive than Electrifying Incident?
I mean, I would say yes, because Electrifying Incident, the scope of Electrifying Incident fit into that time frame, and start to finish, DDR was 9 months, or was supposed to be 9 months. We drifted a little bit, but that was the amount of stuff in Desktop Dungeons was shocking. So that was a very crunchy project, unfortunately. But it was cool. Like there were conversations about what to change from the original game, and certain people on the original team wanted to change things that I felt were like really like, no, you can't change that. That's like one of the cool parts of the original game. And they were like, no, that was like a compromise that we made back then. We didn't want to do that back then. We're going to make the game that we sort of wanted to make back then. And so we changed some stuff, and fans of the original sort of griped about a few of the creative decisions we made on the remaster. But I still look at what we did on the remaster. I'm like, man, this is a really good looking game. And it's also just like, the mechanics of that game are still like exquisite. It's a really fun, sort of weird strategy game. And then when I was working on that game, I met my current just collaborative brother, a dude named Ash Peter. He was the code lead. And we got along super well. We worked well together. We share a design sensibility. So after Desktop Dungeons, which again was like a pretty crunchy project, we said like, hey man, how about after this, we take some time, we like jam on some stuff. We just like enjoy practicing the craft, and we sort of see what happens. We just like, have fun making games. And we prototyped some stuff, and then one of those things was like, oh, that was actually pretty good. And we kept working on it. And we very intentionally said at the start, like, we are not going to take this seriously. We are going to like, this is for fun. Let's just like not treat this like a real project. And then after, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months of working on one of the prototypes, we were like, I've got a confession. I'm kind of taking this seriously. And he was like, yeah, I am too. And so we decided to like, okay, well, let's keep working on this, see where it goes. And we finished it. We created a studio. It's just us. It's called Ash and Adams Games. And the studio is sort of just a legal, I don't know, bit of hoop jumping so we can like release on Steam and stuff like that. But now we're working on another title called Existential Treads. And the first game, Ash and Adams Gobsmacked, that was a chaotic, kind of throwbacky arena shooter or arena action game. There is shooting in it, but it's not. You play as this little hyperactive goblin in a post-humans Earth, and you're running around and climbing on walls and kicking stuff and occasionally shooting things. And it's good. Like Ash and I, we both want to make small, short, like you play them for 2 hours and you're like, wow, what a cool game. I'm done. I can go do something else, right? And you can just spend time thinking about the game, or you can go back and play it again if you want to. But we very intentionally aren't trying to make stuff that just overstays its welcome. Short and sweet. And so that was sort of a retro shooter. And now we're working on Existential Treads, which is a little bit of a retro, like top-down tank game combined with a settlement builder. And it's all about, it's very fun, bouncy action. It's got sort of like the playful obnoxiousness that Gobsmacked had. That's one of the sensibilities I think we share. But then also it has this settlement building component. And it's really the game, I would say the game is about community and about cooperation and working together and building a place where everybody is welcome. And then you've got a bunch of explosions also, that's kind of something very heartfelt and then something obnoxious. I think that's really the gestalt that we are really exploring. And there might be another game after this. We're actually finishing up a demo by the end of this month, a public demo, so it'll get out there. People can play it. We just like we want to make games that don't take too long to play. We very intentionally don't want to make a game that takes longer than 12 months to make. So there might be more after this, but like our agreement right now is we finish what we start, but before we start something new, we say, do we actually want to do another one? And this time we did. I suspect that we'll want to do at least one more, but we'll see. It's fun. It's nice to be able to, I teach I work with Alan. I have other teams that I work with, and that's sort of how I make a living. My work with Ash is really just let's make games that we want to play. If they sell, awesome. If they don't, that's okay. Let's just like practice the craft and see and build a body of work for right now. Time is crazy and it's always moving, and who knows if we'll have another chance to just make things for the joy of making them, right? And so we're kind of living in the moment and doing that. And if one of them becomes a hit, amazing. But if they don't, we still have like a body of work that we can say, wow, look, we think these are great games, and I'm so happy we got to make them with each other.
Awesome. And then, yeah, you came back on for Electrifying Incident in your favorite game engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can gripe about Godot if you want.
I mean, yeah, there's not much to say. I like the spirit of what they're trying to do, right? Like, I think open source software is awesome philosophically. I'm totally on board with that right now. The way that like engines usually are at the start, they're made for engineers, and the tooling is not quite there yet for artists. And it sort of seems like no, I don't want to, because it's like this is another thing that I try to tell students, that it's really easy to complain about stuff on the internet. And I certainly have complained about Godot on the internet before. It's occasionally a joke on our team calls, but how decisions get made within an organization is not always like obvious. And, you know, to like think back to, you know, Desktop Dungeons, there were people who complained about like, oh, why'd you change X? Why'd you change Y? But like, if those people were in the conversations that we had over, you know, weeks and months, maybe they still would say like, oh, I'm still bummed that this thing got changed, but I think they would understand like, okay, well, you know, this is how they were weighing stuff. These were all the inputs, and this was the output they got from it, right? And so I look at what the folks making Godot are doing and like where they end up, and you know what they choose to prioritize and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I wish the parts of the engine that I had to interact with frequently worked differently, but I don't think that like they know what they're doing, right? And I'm not privy to all of the conversations. And so I don't know. My hope is that they have what I refer to as the Blender 2.8 moment, where they're like, okay, let's make a push for greater market share. Let's do a big overhaul of certain things it's going to be painful to do this overhaul. It's going to take a lot of work, but we can fix UI, UX stuff. We can make changes to our foundation, right? I don't mean like the foundation that runs the thing. I mean like structural foundation, and it's going to make future stuff a lot easier to do, or make, you know, increasing market share more likely. Because right now it does feel like this is for engineers, but in my opinion, not too many other folks. But I will say, like, my experience working on Electrifying Incident was just like chainsaw noise emotionally. And then like on Spooky, it's, I don't know, like a rattling fan, you know? It's way less like, it's like, I wish.
What do you think the difference between those projects was then?
I mean, it's really just like time spent, right? Like, it's still the same engine effectively between those two things, but now I just have more time under, like, the way Godot is structured and the way the art tools are set up. In some cases, it's like really just not what one would expect. It's not what I expected. I shouldn't put it generally, because that sort of is like this passive, I don't know, mildly passive aggressive thing to do. You know, I've like worked with a lot of different engines. My start in games, like back when I started, like there were editors, but like the first few games that I worked on and I did VFX, like those were typed scripts, right? Like, I'm not someone who needs super fancy tools. Some of the tools in Godot are just like, they're, in my opinion, some really odd decisions were made when designing these tools. But now I understand those on this one, right? Like diving in and saying, hey, we're going to do a 6-week project, figure this out. It's like, okay, well, cool. Like, this is really not what I expected. The timeline on Spooky Express is longer, so I've got more time to sort of figure it out. And I still think there's a lot of those weird decisions, but I've been wrestling with them for a little bit now, so I understand, like, okay, well, this is still weird, but I know I can push this button here, and then I can do this, and I can do this, and then, the thing happens that I'm trying to make happen. And to their credit, they're really good at regular updates. So I do keep my eye on like whatever they're working on for each, point release and stuff like that. And I don't know, got a vigil candle lit for like, oh, maybe they'll add this feature. And eventually one day that will happen. And boy, I'll be so happy.
If there's one thing that Godot could change that would make your life, it would make you sing, what would it be?
Sing. I would honestly, the biggest thing, right now their visual shader editor doesn't have, you can do a lot more if you're typing shader code than you can actually do with the visual editor. Like the visual editor just has stuff that you can't do in it. Not without, I shouldn't say that because it's not technically right. There are ways you can do it. You just sort of have to go around Robin Hood's barn to make certain things happen. And it's like, yeah, man, if the visual editor was just like a one-to-one visual version of the shader language, that would be great. If that happened, I'd be like, okay, sweet. I no longer feel like I'm on crutches. Because that's the big thing, right? Like for me, one of the frustrating thing is that, I feel like I am capable of designing an art style and, making all these assets and, making it happen to a certain level that I'm very, very happy with. But then in the engine fights against me, right? And I can't, a game in Godot right now, I just feel like, man, I can't do my best, which is frustrating. So that's a big one. I think the close runner-up is just like if they totally overhauled how particle systems work, I would be so happy because there's just a bunch of that's one of the places where I'm just like, man, I know this was done for reasons, but I wish I could read a transcript of the conversation that led you to make your particle system work this way, because it just feels like certain stuff is omitted, certain stuff is there. The way everything works is like, I don't know. Every time you want to make a right turn, you've got to make 3 lefts. That's what it feels like. It's just like, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird. How about you? I know on the team, I'm the one that's like usually a grump about the technology, but Alan, is there anything that like you've seen that's like, that's weird. I wish that worked differently.
So I touch Godot less than some other team members.
Sure.
I think something I've seen is like, I think we could restructure the project to mitigate this, but I think the way we currently have Spooky Express set up, a lot of different types of changes might touch the same file.
Yeah, sure.
And so like merging, I think some things is like more painful than it needs to be. Like actually, like even just like touching nothing, sometimes it just like makes random changes to the files. Like oh, this UID used to be in this file and now is not, or like is here now when it wasn't before. I'm like, what changed? Like so there's some weirdness there, which makes like diffing changes more painful than it should be, really.
Yeah.
So that's a big one that I see a lot of the time. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's the first one that comes to mind.
Sure. Yeah, I think that, I've noticed that kind of stuff too. And I feel like one of the reasons that I feel like I want to qualify any critique I make of the engine is that I just, every engine has a grain to it, like a piece of wood. And I don't want to make complaints that are overly bold and then have it be pointed out like, hey, numbskull, you're just doing it wrong. It's actually super easy. which, is totally opening the project and then closing it and saying, do you want to save your changed files? I'm like, I don't think I touched anything, so no, question mark. But like, really, so much of my time with Godot is spent just shrugging my shoulders like, I don't know, maybe, just because I don't know. And I suspect that, the more time I spend with the engine, and the more time I learn what that grain is, those things will stop being confusing or puzzling or whatever. But, right now they are. So
yeah,
I don't know.
But I think even transitioning from 4.3 to 4.4, I think there were a few things that were like sticking points on Electronic Instant that were way better on Spook Express. Like I remember in Electronic Instant making changes while the editor was open.
Oh yeah,
was like really unreal. So you just have to get into the habit of like, okay, I'm going to close Godot, then I'm going to pull changes, then I'm going to reopen Godot, and that's not an issue anymore. So like, I think they're getting that.
Yeah. Good job, company. Good job, Foundation.
Thank you, open source developers.
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing too. Like, it's open source software. Like, come on. Like, you're not having to pay for it, right? Like, show some gratitude. I'm saying that to me, really. I'm not saying that to anybody else on the team. I'm just saying it to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm sure we'll send an email next time we pay the license fee.
Hey, DragNeck sponsors Godot.
We do.
Hey, good job.
Some tier of sponsorship.
I will say that every time I look at what the other engine companies are doing, just like let's be nice and say, as corporate citizens of the world,
sure.
I look at Godot and I think, yeah, Godot, open source software, like this. But yeah, and now we're working on Spooky Express, which is gonna wrap up development in an indeterminate to the public amount of time. But it is, there is an end date in mind.
When this podcast comes out, we will have announced the release date.
Oh, that's true. That's
October 21st.
Yes.
When is this episode coming out?
In like 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, then we can talk about all kinds of future stuff.
Okay. Yeah. You got any predictions?
I've got some grim ones, but I don't. No! Let's not do those. I think I'm just trying to think about game stuff. Oh well, actually, if it's in 6 weeks, the Existential Treads demo is definitely out. I don't know how much crossover with the audience of DragNeck podcast and there is with like Existential Treads, but if you want to play a goofy action game, go check it out. It'll be on Steam and itch. So there you go. What are your predictions? Go. What's your craziest prediction for the world? 6 weeks. I know you're going to like places that you don't want to like speak it into reality too, right?
I'm trying to think of like a neutral to positive one.
Yeah, sure.
Also, I'm like, there's a couple things that I know will be announced by then, but like, I'm not supposed to know now. And so like,
you can't publicly say like, wait, you could claim like, oh yeah, I'm about to edit something in from the same week that this podcast.
Hang on, the spirits are speaking through me. Hey, that Nintendo Direct sure was interesting, huh?
Oh man, there was a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah,
that Nintendo Direct that came out on which date is it going to come out on?
Oh, it came out on, and it featured, and I can't believe they shadow dropped.
Yeah, all that stuff. It really.
You heard it here first.
What an age we live in.
Yes. Anyways,
I can't believe they gave Mario a gun.
Again?
Oh man.
I will. Speaking of Mario a gun, I will say those Mario and Rabbids games that Ubisoft put out, underappreciated tactical strategy.
They're great. Like as far as like examples of a genre, they're so good.
Yeah, it's like, why are the Rabbids, which are the minions but didn't get big,
Yeah.
why are they in an XCOM game with Mario? Who
Yeah.
knows? They are,
Who
and it's
knows?
really good.
It is a really weird. I mean, I'm sure they've talked about how that mashup happened.
Yeah, they wanted to work with Mario, and so they invited Nintendo to see a prototype, and Miyamoto was in the room, and he asked, where did you, like, what game did you rip the Mario model from? And they said, we made this. And they said, oh my gosh, you have attention to detail. Sure, we can
Oh
trust
wow,
you with the IP. And then
that
they gave
is
Mario a gun.
that is so funny. Is that really like the short, basically
Yes,
like short version of it? Oh wow, that's
that is
so funny.
actually the story. Is they were sold because they made a Mario character model from scratch that looked official, and
Wow.
convinced Miyamoto that they had ripped it from they data mined a Nintendo game.
Oh wow. What a funny individual, Miyamoto.
Yes. Anyways, yeah, if you want Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Yoshi holding freaking guns,
Yeah.
yeah, no, those are good games.
Yeah.
I do not believe those are in the Thinky Games database, but they are surprisingly good strategy games.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're all over the place. Do you have any last things that you want to plug? Anything else that you want to chat about?
No, I mean, yeah, existential treads.
You were so nervous about this, like having enough to discuss in this episode.
I was not nervous.
No, not you, Adam.
I just wanted to make sure, like, listen, I made a mistake early on. I was trying to avoid making the mistake of telling the story and then losing the thread, and then I did that. But now that that's happened, I found myself embracing it.
Yeah,
And I think that's really
whatever.
that's a lesson for life.
This is a conversation between three people who have worked together on and off for 5 years.
Yeah.
5.5 years.
Yeah.
Just chatting about Godot and musical instruments.
Oh yeah,
and
wait, what?
Mario and Rabbids.
Oh yeah, we have to do another 10-minute digression on
yeah.
musical instruments.
I know. I'll it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah, go for it.
Syrenne, when did you what instrument would you say is like your main instrument?
Violin.
Do you have for real violin? That I'll tell you what, violin is if I ever worked on a game that was just like an obscene hit and I didn't have to worry about money for like at least a few years,
Yeah.
I would take time off to just like learn how to play violin.
It's really good.
Violin or cello, maybe.
Fun. Yeah. I will say if you have bigger hands, cello is definitely easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had violin is the I picked up violin when I was in 3rd grade, and I wanted to do cello, and then I wanted to do double bass, but I rode the bus home, and my parents wanted me to practice at home, and so they said, no, you're gonna pick a violin.
Yeah.
I was also playing piano at the time, and like a couple of other instruments, and they all used either the treble clef or the bass clef. So viola was a non-option because that uses its own messed up clef, the alto clef, where middle C is, or C5, however you want to write the note, is the middle line of the staff.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
So and my parents were convinced this was going to mess me up on other instruments if I learned a third clef in elementary school. So they shoved me into violin. So yeah, I did violin, and then my fingers grew larger, and then I was like, well, this gets harder over time, huh?
Oh yeah, wow, that's crazy. I hadn't considered that. Are your parents both musicians? That sounds like they're both musicians.
My dad was never a musician, but on my mom's side, I come from family. Like I come from a musical family where basically everyone has, through a certain, you can trace one straight line through genealogy of like, yep, you directed a marching band. Yep, you played instrument in a band for decades. Yep, you did. Yep.
Wow.
So like, basically, yes. For when I was a very young child, piano, some early wind instruments, violin leads into viola, cello, and bass very easily. Did handbells. Did learn the full percussion suite, and then eventually in high school, I ended up having an empty period at one point between I would this school bused me to the university to go take college classes on the high school's dime, and which great gig if you could swing it.
Yeah, sure.
Honestly, just not having to pay for college courses, like just go learn for professors. Great stuff. But there was like an in between period where it's like some days the bus would need an extra hour, and so the band director was not teaching anything during that time, and so basically they said, well, whatever, time to teach you every instrument in the band.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So no, I'm very rusty at a lot of instruments right now, but like
Sure.
give me a week and I can get up and running again on any
Yeah,
of them.
that's awesome. Wow, great.
Every time I say this out loud on like a game team, this will be funny because we're gonna record with Priscilla pretty soon, also about Spooky. Sure. I don't think that Priscilla knows any of this because like whenever I would tell someone on a team and the composer was in the room, the composer's like, I had to go secure all of these live instruments, and I never thought to ask if anyone on the team knew all of the instruments.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no one asks me if I can play a musical instrument. You're like one of the first in years that's asked.
We're obviously past the end of the podcast, but like that is immediately like I've got a handful of follow-up questions about your experience and other stories and stuff like that. But hey, we can save it. We can save it for the next time we record.
I will just say this: I've professionally toured Europe.
Oh, okay. Well,
I did not know any of this either.
I've been a teacher. I've been a music teacher, and I've been a professional musician. Basically.
Well, this is perfect. Bring this up to Priscilla, who's like also just super fun to chat to.
Yes,
like that is going to be just like a really good topic of conversation.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to be catnip, I think. Yeah. Anyways, now this is on the record.
Yes.
So people have the chance to actually know this about me now. Because as online of a person as I am, like if you scroll through all my social media, you'll find out my political takes and what I work on, but you will not find out information about my personal life, really. So that's just kind of the arbitrary line that I've drawn.
Well, I'm happy that this is out now because that is like such a fun detail to know.
Yeah, I've done a lot in my life. I have lived a complicated and happy life.
And you also made all of those incredibly accurate predictions too.
Exactly, and the future can come through me.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again. Where can people find you online?
I'm Adam deGrandis on Blue Sky. I am. Oh, geez, I guess that's it now.
Yeah, welcome.
That's the only social media people use.
Yeah, chickadeegames.com is my professional site. But then, ask where am I online? Just ask Syrenne and Alan, and they'll
right. I'll direct everyone to your popping off Snapchat account. Or I'm trying to think of social media platforms that technically are still running but feel defunct.
Best place to hit me is probably MySpace.
Well, I think that was actually gone, but yes.
No, I actually
don't know if it is.
Still going?
I do think it's actually still around.
Yes,
it was like a year ago at least.
Yes, I love that. Tom's always in my top 9. All right. Thank you again for joining. This has been a lovely conversation. And thank you for listening to the Draconic and Friends official podcast. Our music is by Priscilla Snow, who you can find at ghoulnoise.bandcamp.com. Wouldn't you believe it? Our podcast artwork is by Adam deGrandis. Our podcast is edited by Melody Zawodniak. Please rate and review us on your podcast service of choice, and be sure to tune in next episode for more interesting conversations.